Namaskar. Hello friends. Wish you all a good day. Today I am coming with a new topic, that is the approaches to educational planning. This discussion belongs to the students of educational management and administration. Here, in this discussion, I'll discuss particularly the social demand approach to educational planning. Friends, you all know there are lots of approaches to educational planning. Some popular approaches are like social demand approach, then human resource development approach or manpower planning approach, next the cost benefit approach or the rate of return approach. So lots of approaches are there in educational management, but for our convenience today we shall discuss only the social demand approach to educational planning. So first of all, the social demand approach of educational planning was introduced by Robbins Committee report on higher education in Great Britain. This Robbins Committee report on higher education, though they introduced this in higher education, but later on this approach is gradually becoming popular almost in all the developing countries. Particularly in India, this approach is becoming very popular at this time nowadays, because at the time of opening a new educational institution, more particularly in establishment of a higher educational institute, this approach becomes very significant. According to this approach, educational authorities should provide all facilities to all students who want to enter to a particular institute and who also want to stay for a particular period of time in that particular institute. So this approach, according to this approach, requires the education authorities should provide school facilities, and educational authorities are to provide schools and find all kinds of facilities for all the students who demand admission and who are qualified to enter to educational institution in a society. Very simply, the social demand approach refers that or emphasizes that educational facilities should be extended in proportion to the degrees as per the demand of the society. So all authorities, educational authorities should provide all kinds of facilities according to the demand, according to the degree of the demand by the people in a particular society. So the number of students who are trying to get admission, all those students should be accommodated in that schools as they want, as they wish, and those who are trying to enter in one particular institution should be allowed to stay in that particular institute for a definite period of time. That means two things are important here. How many students are trying to enter in a particular institute, and they are seeking admission for how many duration, what is the length of their study. So these two things are important in social demand approach. So here I am emphasizing that the number of students who are trying to enter in the schools in a particular institute and what is the duration of their course. So both are very considered as important. So here in social demand approach, education is considered as the birthright of every human being. That means just after getting birth in a society, everybody should be facilitated with proper education, with proper facilities. And therefore, it is said that the basic assumption behind this social demand approach is that provision of education will never cost a heavy burden. So it will never neither create too heavy burden, rather it is beneficial to a particular society. So this approach is more prevalent in those countries who are always advocate for social welfare, those countries who are very interested for preservation of their own cultural values. This approach is also very popular in the developing countries. Those who are very in favor of traditional cultural values, where all kinds of decisions are taken on the basis of the opinion of the common people. So this approach is also popular in our country, India. After discussing this concept, it is the time to discuss the steps of social demand approach. If somebody is going to apply the social demand approach in educational planning, then the person has to follow 4 steps. So first step is estimating properly the number of students who are going to complete their school leaving examination. The students how many students are appearing in the high school leaving examination, and how many of them are going to complete successfully the high school leaving examination. It is the first step duty of the educational planner to fix the to estimate the number of students properly. In the second step, it is the duty of the educational planner to estimate how many of them are willing to get admission in higher education. So in the second step, if suppose 3 lakh students have appeared in the high school leaving examination certificate in one step, it is the duty of the planner, among those 3 lakhs, how many will complete successfully. Proper estimation should be done, and after estimating the number of students who are appearing and who will complete the school leaving examination successfully in the first step, after overcoming the first step, in the second step, it is the duty of the educational planner to estimate how many of them are willing to get admission in higher education. Because 3 lakhs, out of 3 lakhs, if 2.5 lakhs have qualified their high school leaving examination, all of them, 2.5 lakh, may not be interested to go for higher education. So among those 2.5 lakh, in the second step, it is the duty of the planner to estimate how many of them will go for higher education. Okay, in the third step, determining how many will be given the chance to be admitted. It is also very important to determine properly. Out of 2.5 lakh, if 2 lakhs are willing to get admission in higher educational institutions, government may not be in a position to accommodate those 2 lakhs of students. So how many of them will be given, what will be the cut-off marks, 40% or 45%, what will be the last percentage who will be given the chance to be admitted, it will be duty of the planner to fix. And finally, in the fourth step, determining the length and duration of the study in their institute. That means if a student joins a particular institute, then for how many years the student will stay in that particular institution. So determining the length and duration of the study in their institute is also to be fixed by the educational authority. Next point, it is important to discuss that social demand approach is always influenced by some prominent factors. Always social demand approach is advocated, already it is stated that in the developing countries, in the social welfare state, it is always advocated by common people, by government also, but some factors always influence this approach. What are these factors? First of all, cost of education. Cost of education means what is the expenditure cost. That means if the cost of education is high, demand for education will be low. It is very natural phenomenon. People want cheap education. They want to buy education at low cost but of high quality. It is a natural phenomenon. So cost of education is the first factor. That means how many rate will be, what will be the rate of education for a particular institute, which is situated in urban area, which is situated in rural area. So area wise cost will be separate. Accordingly, what will be the, if the cost will be high or low. If the cost is high, demand for education will be low. If the cost is low, demand for education will be high. In the next point, benefits of education. Both direct benefits and indirect benefits are there of a particular course. So both benefits of education also influence the demand for education. Next, government policies. Again, another important factor is demographic pattern. Next important factor is geographical location. Next, admission policy of the government or admission policy of the institution. Next, party politics also influences a lot in the social demand approach, because political parties, they wish to win. They always want to win the election with the help of government policy, with the help of welfare policies taken by them. Next, distance to the nearest institute also influences a lot in social demand approach. And finally, but not least important point, though it is mentioned in the last, quality of school. Quality of school means what? The quality of teachers, the quality of infrastructure, the quality of library. So all these are very prominent factors that influence in social demand approach. Now I would like to highlight the advantages and disadvantages of social demand approach in a brief way. So first of all, the advantages of social demand approach are: it democratizes educational opportunity to all sections of people, to all kinds of people. So it is the basic principle of a democracy that we should provide all kinds of students, all kinds of facilities equally. So on the basis of the principle of equality, social demand approach always encourages democratization of education. Next advantage is, it is always helpful in welfare countries like India. Third one is, encourages mass education, mass literacy. Fourth one is, it is helpful tool for educational planner of the government. And of course there are some disadvantages also. First one is, there is a big chance of being the classroom overcrowded. When admissions will be provided as per the demand of the society, then obviously the classrooms will become overcrowded, and obviously this overcrowded condition of the classroom will deteriorate the classroom. Next disadvantage is that it ignores the cost factor. It always advocates for education for all. It always advocates benefits of education, not about the cost of education. So it ignores the cost factor. Next disadvantage is, estimating future demand of a society is not an easy task. So for a human being, its estimation of future demand, how many students will get admission, how many students will be given the opportunity, how many students will qualify their high school leaving examination, it is not an easy task to determine accurately. So it fails to consider the vacancies and capacities of labor market to absorb the graduates. Next point is that regarding the disadvantages, it may create a situation where an overproduction of one job category may occur, and in another category too few personnel production will be happen. That means in one job category there may be chance of overproduction, and in another category there may be the chance of being very few production. So it is also main demerit, one of the main demerits of social demand approach. And the last point is that advocacy for mass education may tend to give the rise of low quality education. With these points, I'd like to conclude my lecture. Thank you.